A very good morning to you and welcome to the Morning Bugle on NCBN, reaching you live from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. It's a beautiful Friday morning and it's good to have you join us on the show this morning. My name is Gabriel Onu. I am not alone in the studio. Dorothy is very much with me this morning. Good morning to you, Dorothy.
Good morning, Gabriel.
You look amazing, I must say.
Thank you. You look good too.
Okay, thank you.
It's a Friday mood.
Okay, is it more of like the thank God it's Friday?
Yes, I think so. I think so. The excitement of the weekend.
What is so special about Fridays?
Well, I mean, we went through Monday, Tuesday. It's special because the entire week has been successfully gone through.
So, when you say going through in terms of your work,
yes,
your personal stuff and
exactly.
everything.
At least you get some time to rest.
Yeah,
so
okay.
Thank God it's Friday.
Well,
I think
thank God it's Friday, but for
valid.
me, I just feel sometimes the whole TGIF thing is exaggerated.
For me, it is not though.
Are you serious? So, okay, do you get to like hang out during the weekends or you just take time to just do personal stuff?
Usually weekends for me. More of sleeping. At least I know I can sleep extra because I don't have...
Okay, talking of the extra, we have more coming on the show this morning. So stay tuned as we begin the journey on the Morning Bugle this morning. Please don't go away.
Welcome back to the show. This is still the Morning Bugle on NCBN. And we'll just go straight into our first story. Gabriel, can you take us through that?
All right, talking about developments in Nigeria and around the world. Yesterday, a very interesting meeting held between Nigeria's president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and of course the state governors and key government functionaries, talking about the National Security Advisor, Hanuri Badu, the FCT Minister, Nyesom Wike, and a couple of ministers at the State House yesterday. And that is the first conversation we are having. The story says Tinubu holds talk with governors on economic struggles and security concerns. Just to give you a bit of, the details of that story, it says the federal government, alongside the governors of the 30 states, are considering the creation of state police. This followed an emergency meeting between President Bola Tinubu and state governors at the Aso Rock Villa in Abuja on Thursday. The meeting follows the recent hike in food prices, economic hardship, and pockets of insecurity recorded nationwide. Addressing State House correspondents after the meeting, the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, explained that the process is still in its infancy and would only take shape after more deliberations between stakeholders. The debate for the creation of state police in Nigeria primarily stems from the centralized nature of the Nigerian police force, which is perceived by many as inadequate for addressing the unique security challenges across the country's diverse regions.
Wow.
Really wow. The security issues are just here and there.
Yes. So now the question is, what different thing can the state police do?
That's actually a very big question.
Yes.
But let's even go back to, where this whole thing stemmed from. If you remember, sometime in 2014, former President Goodluck Jonathan did convoke a national conference, what we called at that time the confab, national confab. And there were a lot of recommendations from that confab. One of the key recommendations was that Nigeria should establish state police. But, for some reasons, which I cannot adduce right now, the recommendations of that conference, are wasting away in the shelves of Aso Rock as we speak, because even the sitting president at that time, Jonathan, did not implement
it, yeah.
Muhammadu Buhari came in, he did not implement them. And right now we have Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So it started from there, and Nigerians had their reservations as to why or not we need state police. One of the reasons why most people advocate for state police is because of its closeness to the people. Because the federal system we have somehow is inadequate. One, in terms of personnel, the number of personnel we need, in terms of equipment, in terms of, the barriers between the locals and the personnel deployed to the state. Say, for instance, Emeka from Enugu State is recruited into the police force. He's deployed to Maiduguri, where the common language there is Hausa and the other one, is it Fufude or the other one? Yeah, and a couple of other languages there. So he finds it a bit difficult
There'll
to
be a barrier.
incorporate into that society.
Exactly.
But if you have a state police where largely the recruitment is done within that environment, which means people from Maiduguri or Borno State, as it were, are the ones recruited into the police force of that state.
Yeah.
It means you won't have that language barrier. And they have better knowledge.
Yes, better understanding of the environment.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I feel this is something that can be considered as a good move, especially for, like you have said, if people from a certain environment are recruited and are positioned for that environment, this will be something that can help. Because, of course, we wouldn't have this barrier. We wouldn't have people coming that do not even understand what is going on. There is no synergy between the locals and the authority. There's always that friction because there's no understanding between them. So I think this is a good move.
Yeah, it's a good move, even though we also have those who have their reservations, including myself. And the reason is because of our political culture and maturity. Unfortunately, in Nigeria at the moment, we are not politically mature enough to manage certain things. And what do I mean? Now, if you go to the US, you have a structure where you have both the federal police and the state
police. Yes.
But in Nigeria, if you have that in place, how is it going to be managed? We have state governors who won't complain of inadequate fund to run the affairs of the state. And that is why at the moment you see governors who are owing civil servants in state couple of months, in salaries. You have governors who, some of them may not be politically mature enough to handle state police because of funding. And also in terms of deployment, don't be surprised that if Mr. A has a disagreement with a sitting governor, the next thing is to deploy the apparatus of the state through the police to go after that person. So that political maturity is very much not there yet. And that is where some people have their reservations as to whether Nigeria is politically mature enough to have a state police.
And even the government, are we responsible? Is the government going to be responsible enough for this? Because that is adding more responsibility on the government.
Exactly.
There's already the complaint of inadequate facilities. We are already struggling with what is on ground. And now state police is like adding more responsibility on the government.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
But also, it's good we mentioned this, right? There's what I've heard over time they call security vote coming to the governors. And I've never seen any governor account for this money called security vote. Matter of fact, we don't even know how much it is. But it's on record that every month, as the allocation of the state is going to them between the federal, state, and local government, there's what we call, security vote. What is it being used for? Which means, as much as the governors are complaining of inadequate fund to run the affairs of the state, if monies like the security vote can be deployed to running the state police, it will go a long way.
Yeah.
But then the maturity comes in.
Exactly.
If we have a state police, will these governors be able to manage it in such a way that it is not used for political vendetta? It is not deployed to go after their perceived political enemies.
And, these
are very key issues we must address. Because as much as we want to see a secure Nigeria, a Nigeria where banditry, kidnapping, and all manner of insecurity is addressed, we must not create another monster that is another problem trying to solve one problem. So that brings me to my next point. Can we leverage the current system and see how the police can be better equipped?
Yes.
See how the police can be better managed.
That's
for optimal performance.
What we have on ground.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So we will go on a quick break and we'll be back with the next story. Do stay tuned.
Did you know, in 1975, a brand new car in Nigeria was once sold for 2,000 naira? And also, in 1975, a ticket to London was less than 100 naira.
Good to know you stay tuned to the Morning Bugle on NCBN, and of course we just delve quickly into our next conversation, which has to do with the power sector in Nigeria. And just like security, affects every aspect of our national life, so also the power sector.
Yeah.
This time, the Minister of Power is talking about what government has been doing to ensure that you Nigerians actually enjoy, do I say, adequate power supply in your homes? Because for most Nigerians, they don't even know that government is paying subsidy on power.
Yeah.
But as you should be aware today, government is doing that, and the minister has something to say about that. Dorothy will just take us through that story.
Yes, so the story says Power Minister expresses concern as electricity subsidy surges to 3 trillion naira.
Wow, that's a lot.
The power sector of Nigeria is facing an uphill battle as it is heavily indebted to both electricity generating companies and gas producers. The federal government revealed that the sector's debt has soared to about 3 trillion naira, with a considerable portion owed to gas suppliers. This debt situation makes it challenging to sustain the current electricity subsidy, projected to reach about 3 trillion naira for 2024, compared to the 450 billion naira budgeted for it in the year's budget. Wow. Adebayo Adelabo, Nigeria's Minister of Power, emphasized the need to transition to a cost-effective tariff model to address these financial challenges. Although there have been calls for his resignation, he is determined to continue his role as Minister of Power. He acknowledged the efforts of the Ministries of Power, Finance and Petroleum to address the sector's crisis, but disclosed that the subsidy for January 2024 remains unpaid by the federal government. This non-payment, coupled with a halt in gas supply due to the sector's indebtedness, led to a crash in power generation and subsequent poor supply in January. In discussing the depth of this sector's debt, Adelabo mentioned a 1.3 trillion debt to electricity generating companies, with 60% owed to gas suppliers. Additionally, there is a legacy debt to gas companies amounting to $1.3 billion. Wow, the figures just keep increasing.
It just keep increasing, really.
Which translates to roughly 2 trillion naira at the current exchange rate. To address the situation, Adelabo mentioned exploring options such as cash injections or guaranteed debt instruments to settle the debt and ensure the continuity of power generation. Addressing the subsidy issue, the minister pointed out that the West African countries such as Ghana, Togo, and Benin Republic pay more for electricity than Nigeria. Given this, the government might not be able to continue funding subsidies at the current levels.
Wow, this is quite interesting.
Wow.
And I said interesting because this is coming at a time where about 7 or 8 months after President Bola Ahmed Tinubu announced, removal of subsidy on fuel.
Yeah.
It seems it marked a major turnaround in how Nigerians are living. Of course, we've seen a skyrocketing inflation in terms of food prices. We've seen the dollar and the naira at loggerheads, even though the dollar seems to be winning at all times. So these are, outcomes of removal of subsidy. And just when we are trying to think of how to get out of this, we are hearing this coming from the Minister of Power. The truth is, there's a lot of debt being owed in the power sector, from the generation companies, distribution, and across the value chain. But do you think that removing subsidy is what is going to bring the solution to all of this? Well, for me, I don't think that is the solution, because it will only worsen
the situation
in Nigeria, as it were.
There has been serious low power supply, especially in the month of January. And this has affected a lot of things. It has affected businesses. It has affected productivity. And we see that apart from the removal of the subsidy affecting the power supply, we see that it has affected almost everything. Prices of things just keep skyrocketing, and then the figures just keep on increasing. It just keeps increasing, and then it's like there's nothing to show for it. So we hope that the government will actually do something concerning this electricity surge, because it's a thing of concern.
It's a thing of concern, no doubt about that. And talking about the subsidies, right? 1 trillion naira or 3 trillion naira is no mean sum. I mean, it's a very huge amount. But you also want to ask yourself, what is too big for the government to sacrifice for its people?
Exactly.
The minister mentioned that Nigerians pay like the lowest, electricity tariff in Africa. I'm not arguing that it's very possible, all right? But at the same time, what is the state of our economy? What is the purchasing power of the naira? So, if it's something that government can sustain and it will not have any major effect on government spending, why not? Because you want to ask yourself, let's assume that government remove its hand from the power sector, electricity, and say no more subsidy on power. And then Nigerians will be paying more for this epileptic power supply we are witnessing. Because how much of it do you even see in the first place?
Exactly, how much do you see?
Businesses need this to survive. We are in the studio right now, and if the lights go off, nothing is going to work.
Nothing will
for the
work.
viewers to
No
see
productivity.
us. For the viewers to see us, we need either power from the national grid or the generator to be on, and that is diesel, which means there's a whole lot of money that goes into running a business. And when you have constant power supply, to a very large extent, it will cut down the cost of running that business,
Yes.
and it will have a
To
ripple effect
boost,
on the market itself.
Yeah. So I feel that, it's compared to other West African countries. It says that Nigeria spends more money in power supply, yes, in electricity. Like Ghana, Togo, the money that they spend is nothing compared to what Nigeria spend.
But you ask yourself, what is the rate of power supply in Ghana?
In Ghana,
Don't forget that during the just concluded AFCON, one of the things they were taunting us, of course, both Nigeria and Ghana were at loggerheads, right, in terms of when it came to the AFCON, because whether we played Ghana or not, Nigeria was constantly dragging Ghana. So, and then they were also dragging us to say, you know what, Nigerians don't even have power supply to watch the match they are talking about.
And we spend a lot of money.
So you ask yourself, if you want to compare us to Ghana, how many hours of power supply per day do Ghanaians enjoy? And how many do Nigerians enjoy? It's not just about the money. What about the value?
True.
It is very important. So if you ask me, I would say that if it will not hurt anybody, government should sustain its subsidy of electricity, because we are yet to get to acclimatize ourselves with the effect of removal on fuel. Even if government should consider this, let it be a future plan and not now. Let it be something that maybe, in the next 10 years, in the next 15 years, we'll see how we can remove subsidy on power in Nigeria, or electricity as it were. But for now, I don't think it's something that government should even consider.
This is something that they need time to sit and check and do all their findings to see if this is what will actually work for the country.
Very true. And also also to mention that, a few days before the minister made this clear, we had the IMF coming up to say that there was a need. You remember, right?
Yes.
There was a need for Nigeria to remove subsidy on electricity and fuel. They've done that of fuel already. But you ask yourself, the IMF, as respected as it is it really speaking in the interest of Nigerians?
Nigeria.
These are bodies who go to cup in hand asking for loans and all of that. So to a very large extent, they will also want to tell you the kind of economic policies you make. Of course, he who pays the piper, he pays the tune, right? In this case, we are indebted to them. So they can say, you know what, in this sector, make this policy. And you have no choice than to make it. But I want to advise President Bola Ahmed Tinubu that it's important that he prioritizes, the welfare of Nigerians against any form of advice coming from any international body.
Yeah.
Making policies is not going to affect those people. It is we Nigerians
that are going to
be
affected.
Policies are going to affect. So as good as the intention of the IMF, the World Bank, or whatever international body may be, let the welfare and well-being of Nigerians be the bedrock of any policy that is going to be made by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and not because they've advised us to do so. We are the ones to bear the brunt at the end of the day.
True.
Very true. Okay, so on that note, we just, of course, that's the much you can take this morning on this particular story. We go on to bring you Commerce Council for you to learn something new in terms of spending, in terms of economic and business decisions. Please don't go away.
How to save money from salary. Number 1, make a monthly budget plan. Saving money is all about keeping track of where your money is going and controlling expenses. Make a monthly budget plan dividing your expenses into major categories and stick to it. The budget will help you avoid overspending, and that means you will have more money to save. Number 2, track your spending. Tracking your spending will allow you to know how your salary is being used. Before giving up on saving money from your salary, review your spending for the last few months. Often, we find that there are areas that we can cut in order to prioritize saving. Number 3, exercise caution when using your ATM card. Your debit card or ATM card could prove to be a lifesaver in more than a few situations. However, without caution and discipline, it can contribute to your staying poor. Carrying an ATM card for your savings account is a bad idea. Number 4, avoid impulsive buying. It's getting easier to buy things you want online compared to making the money needed to buy them. To shop online, the best way to go about it is to save your money until the end of the year when many stores commence their annual discounted sales, especially the Black Friday sales. If you have to shop, plan your shopping online and ahead of time. Impulsive shopping should be considered a glaring threat to your ability to save. Number 5, eat more homemade meals. Eating homemade meals helps you save more money. Dining out is one of the biggest pitfalls to saving for people. With some level of planning and discipline, it's a habit that will yield results and save you more money. You can start by buying affordable foodstuff at home. If you have a refrigerator, possibilities get even more exciting for your dining habits. Come up with a weekly plan for your meals, and remember that eating well shouldn't be limited to eating at restaurants all week long. Number 6, slash cable TV budget. Rather than budgeting a chunk of your income on expensive cable TV subscriptions, you can seek out alternatives. However, if you spend less time watching TV, you could free up the money you allocate to cable TV subscription. Also, you could put the free time to better use by acquiring skills that propel you closer to a promotion at work or even a salary raise. Number 7, save and invest in the right savings tool. Depending on your financial goals, put your money away in tools that allow you to save and invest for better returns. Number 8, say no to debt. The idea is to save and earn interest on it. So don't take on new debt unless you have a good enough reason to. Number 9, save your salary increases or bonuses. Anytime you get a raise, incentive, or bonus, it's tempting to use it to reward yourself. Just because you make more doesn't mean you have to spend more. Fight the temptation and put the extra money straight into savings.
It's good to have you back. This is still the Morning Bugle on NCBN, and you have just watched the Commerce Council. I hope that you have learned something today from this episode of the Commerce Council, and that is all we have for you on the Morning Bugle. We do hope that you will join us again for more stories concerning happenings in Nigeria and the world as a whole. My name is Dorothy Benminga. And
my name is Gabriel Ono. See you on Monday and have a beautiful weekend ahead.